Hey everybody, it's Gomedex and welcome back to the final Magic Arena Tinkerer's Cube draft. Let's see if we can give this format a decent swan song, get a nice 7-win run to end it, and maybe even end it with a strategy that I have not recorded in a video before. We'll see. I am going to draft what's open. I'm going to try to draft my best here, get a nice 7-win run to end it off, but let's see. You know, after that whole spiel, I kind of feel like taking a pick one, pack one Panharmonicon. There are a lot of powerful enter the battlefield effects in this cube. There are a lot of powerful enter the battlefield effects in pretty much any color in this cube. So if we first pick Panharmonicon, this card's easy enough to draft around in whatever colors end up being open, and it's just a really fun card to try to get to work. So it is a little bit risky. There are very powerful aggressive decks in the cube, particularly in red mostly, but even green can get powerful curves with Pelt Collector into Crawl Harpooner and stuff like that. And against any aggressive deck, you don't want to spend turn 4 doing nothing. You want to interact with their board in some way, at least making a blocker. So this card isn't perfect. It is slow, but once it gets off the ground running, it's incredibly fun, and it does a lot of stuff. So I'm going to start with a Panharmonicon. Let's see if we can't make Saffron all over at MTG Goldfish proud here. Alright, so do we have any Enter the Battlefield effects in this pack? We've got a Treasure Token from Sailor of Means. We'd get 2 Treasure Tokens with Panharmonicon. With Augur of Bolas, we'd be drawing 2 cards off the top with its ability. I also haven't drafted blue that often. I think Brain Maggot might be the strongest Enter the Battlefield effect to copy. I think I kind of want to roll with Augur of Bolas here, just because it's a color I haven't drafted very often, and it is an Enter the Battlefield effect to copy, and I think this card is pretty good. It's at its best in blue-red in this cube. Blue-red lends itself to a deck with a ton of instants and sorceries and ways to copy them that can be really fun. So I'm going to scoop up Augur of Bolas here, but again, I'm not sure that is actually the best pick here. But with the cube, generally, the cards are all powerful enough that you can't go incredibly wrong on the picks. I think maybe one of the removal spells like Pacifism or Bubble Snare would be super fine here. And Gemraiser is one of my favorite green cards in the cube, just because there's plenty of decent artifacts and enchantments to blow up with it, so I think there's a lot of options there. Do we have any Enter the Battlefield effects here? We've got a Sifter Worm, doubling up that Sifter Worm effect to gain life equal to whatever you've scryed into twice, and scrying 6 cards. It's actually pretty impressive. We could try to do like green-blue Enter the Battlefield effects with Panharmonicon. Both of those colors should have a decent amount of ETB effects, so I think that would be a pretty good strategy to try out. That being said, Sifter Worm, I don't know how well it works in green-blue in general, just because it is a big, expensive card. The blue decks don't tend to do a lot of rampy stuff, but when we've started off with Panharmonicon, this might just be the one time I actually get to try green-blue ramp. So we have an Enter the Battlefield effect on Threnody Singer, but it's not a super powerful one to copy. Prophetic Prism would be a good Enter the Battlefield effect to copy, and Helm of the Host is really good on any creatures with Enter the Battlefield effects, because then you're getting all of their effects every time you're creating the tokens. That being said, Oracle of Muldaya is probably just generally one of the better cards in this pack. In any color, as is Mantle of the Wolf. Both of these are just really solid green cards. Mantle of the Wolf is fantastic on any creature if you're playing it on turn 4 to get aggressive. But with Panharmonicon, Sifter Worm, Augur of Bolas, all the cards in our deck don't really lend themselves to an aggressive deck. We're trying to just survive the early turns to start maybe comboing off with some big ETBs later. So I'm much more a fan of Helm of the Host or Oracle of Muldaya here. And you know what? This is the last Tinkerer's Cube draft. Maybe I've changed my mind. Maybe I'm not so hard trying to get the 7-win run. Maybe now I'm just trying to do the funnest thing possible. And I'm just imagining a game where we have Panharmonicon and Helm of the Host on board, and then we put it on like a Sifter Worm. I'm just imagining ridiculous, incredible game states that will never happen. But I can believe. If I still get a 7-win run out of this, I'll be very excited. But We're going for absolutely the most combo shenanigans we can. So we're taking another Enter the Battlefield effect here, Merfolk Branchwalker. This is also just one of the better cards here. Nice early blocker to slow down aggressive decks, and it explores, which can give you some card advantage if you hit a land off of it. And otherwise, it's like a scry one, so really nice, efficient little card advantage Merfolk there. So I like the card a lot. Callous Dismissal's pretty solid at slowing your opponent down. You bounce one of their creatures and make a 1/1 token to block stuff. And other than that, just good stuff to ramp into. Big old Trollbred Guardian and a big old Hydra. But I'm taking the Enter the Battlefield effect there. Terrarian doesn't have an Enter the Battlefield effect like Prophetic Prism does. It draws a card when it dies, not when it enters, so it doesn't work with Panharmonicon. So just in general, not that interesting. Not really going to be playing Blue-Green Mill. Blue does have a lot of stuff that cares about casting things in your opponent's turn, but green really doesn't in this cube. Green has tons of just creatures and sorcery speed stuff, very few instants. So I'm not a huge fan of Wavebreak, Hippocamp, or Quench in a blue-green deck, just because we're not often holding mana up. So I guess I'll take the Pelt Collector here. Technically, I think Pelt Collector does work with Panharmonicon. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield or dies, put a +1/+1 counter on it. If it's larger, yeah, that would cause the Pelt Collector's ability to trigger, and Panharmonicon doubles triggered effects that happen on Enter the Battlefield. So that's pretty nice. Rishkar Pima Renegade would double up with Panharmonicon, putting double the +1/+1 counters. So putting 4 counters out total, that seems pretty solid. And this is a ramp card as well, so we don't even feel that bad about not taking Cultivate here. Normally I would just take like Cultivate to ramp into our stuff like Sifterworm, and just our Helm of the Host and stuff costs a ton of mana to move around. So we're definitely the kind of deck that would want to Cultivate. But since Rishkar Pima also ramps us and combos with Panharmonicon, I'm super fine with that here. Plus, Pelt Collector and Merfolk Branchwalker both get a +1/+1 counter on their own, potentially, which combos really well with Rishkar. If you can have just other creatures that have +1/+1 counters on them, you can just have your whole field tapping for mana by the time this comes out. So potentially really good. I'm definitely going to take the draw spell here over the mill card, because, as I said before, we're not going to be blue-green mill. That's hardly a thing. That's just when you want to throw Mantle of the Wolf on your Ruin Crab. That's really what that's for. So, Crocodile the Crossing isn't a great combo with Panharmonicon. We are putting 2 -1/-1 counters onto our creatures when we do that, but I think it's just a decent card in general. I suppose the Sigiled Sword of Valoron's pretty nice as well. Shoot up any creature, and then whenever that creature attacks, you spit out a 2/2 Vigilant Knight token, and then you can just put this on the Knight, and you're attacking with a 4/2 every turn that replaces itself. Kind of a slow card, but a really solid one. I think I'll take the Sigiled Sword here, just for another great slower card. And Sailor of Means does work with Panharmonicon, so we can take that here. We could also try to go Sultai and take back for more. Sultai, we could get a Yarok as well, and then we would be Sultai. Maybe that's a thing. Maybe we take one of the Sultai duels just in case we see a Yarok. I don't know. I kind of like the Sailor of Means, because Sailor of Means also potentially helps us splash black if we get a Yarok, because it creates treasure token. And if we don't splash black, it's definitely more relevant than taking a card that is black out of that pack. So here I'm definitely taking the mana fixing of the Hinterland Harbor. There was like a little bit of an argument for the unsummon, but I do like taking mana fixing pretty highly. And for the same reason, I'm going to take Zagoth Triome here, and this also really helps us splash Yarok. And I'm imagining the games where we can get Yarok and Panharmonicon. That would be awesome. I really want that to happen, so I'm taking the mana fixing to make it happen. That being said, Threnody Singer is a super solid pick there, and if I weren't just imagining what happens if I can open up a Yarok, I think I would just take the Threnody Singer there. But fingers crossed. Let's open up a Yarok. Let's let it happen. Alright, well, we didn't open up a Yarok, but we've got more powerful cards here. Powerful Enter the Battlefield effects as well. Merfolk Skydiver would be putting 2 +1/+1 counters with Panharmonicon. That's not super exciting, but we have a lot of +1/+1 counters right now. Pelt Collector, Merfolk Branchwalker, Rishkar Pimi Renegade. I guess that's only 3 cards right now, but Rishkar is potentially putting counters on 2 different cards. I think Skydiver would be pretty solid in this deck, but since it's a 2-colored card, I think that would be more likely to wheel than something like Maulfist Revolutionary or Mechagodzilla. That being said, Maulfist isn't that exciting. I think it's probably between Merfolk Skydiver and Mechagodzilla, maybe even Golos. You can double up Golos' Enter the Battlefield effect, and Golos probably won't wheel. So what, we have Golos, Mechagodzilla, or Merfolk Skydiver. I think those are my top 3 here. Mechagodzilla is just super solid by itself, but it doesn't do any Enter the Battlefield fun stuff. I'm actually going to take Golos here. We're also likely to be trying to do some big stuff. We have a Sifter Worm. Hopefully we can get some more large stuff, and Golos helps ramp into really big stuff like Sifter Worm. So maybe we get something going there. If not, it's still Golos. Golos is always solid. Animation module's interesting, and I do have a few +1/+1 counter things. I think I prefer just the Siren Lookout, though. That's just definitely going in this deck. For the nice little Explorer trigger that we can do twice, plus it's got the +1/+1 counters, potentially, if we explore a non-land card on top. So it works in our deck in multiple ways. I think I have to just take Champion of Lamholt here. Yeah, it doubles up with Panharmonicon as well. When creatures enter the battlefield, that is a triggered ability of a creature happening when creatures enter the battlefield. And this card is just incredibly good. It can easily shut off all of your opponent's blocks. It doesn't have to get that big to do that. If this gets to like a 4/4, it's often just shutting off all of your opponent's blocks. And there are a lot of board stalls in this format sometimes. And yeah, this just absolutely crushes your opponent if you get into a stalemate. So Champion of Lamholt, super, super solid card. And now there's no dual lands that would help us if we end up in Sultai in green, blue, black. So we'll just take the mediocre green card here. Momentous Fall, I'm just never excited to play. The idea around this card is you can sacrifice one of your creatures that's been pacified, or one of your creatures that is about to get removed by something else, but overall I just feel it's a little too situational. Potentially you're like drawing a ton of cards and gaining a ton of lives by like sacrificing a Sifter Worm, but just not the craziest. So Kiyora's interesting here. Kiora we could draw double cards off of, but we only have one card that works with Kiora right now, the Sifter Worm. But we have Golos, we have Rishkar, we're trying to ramp into big things, so if we take Kiora, we can start just taking big things. That being said, there's a lot of other just solid cards here, with great Enter the Battlefield effects like Mesmerizing Benthed, Spark Double, Crawl Harpooner, Stormfleet Aerialist. I'm going to take the Benthed here, actually, I think. This card's just really good at shutting your opponent down on the ground. Like turn 5, if you're still alive and you're not within burn spell range, you just drop this out and you have a 4/5 and 2 0/2s, and the 0/2s tap down your opponent's creature for even longer. So I think Mesmerizing Benthed's just pretty great. I'm actually going to take Evolution Sage over the mana fixing here of the Temple of Mystery. Although I would like the Temple of Mystery, and I doubt it wheels. We did get a Tri-Land last pick last time, so who knows. But I think Evolution Sage is just insane. If you manage to get anything with a +1/+1 counter on it in the early game, like turn 1 or turn 2, if we get Pelt Collector or Merfolk Branchwalker, all of a sudden just every time we play a land, at least one of our cards is like getting bigger every turn. Which is just, it's just fantastic. And with enough +1/+1 counter stuff, I mean, we have Champion of Lamholt and Rishkar as well. This card just gets absolutely bonkers. So I like Bloom Hulk. Nice 4-mana 4/4 on curve that proliferates. I like Contentious Plan as well, just draw a card and proliferate. Or the Dawn Treader Elk for the ramp. I think I'll take the Bloom Hulk, because Bloom Hulk also combos with our Panharmonicon that we are really playing around with at this point. Field of the Dead. I don't think this is going to be a Field of the Dead deck. I would have to start taking a lot of non-basic lands at this point, so I feel like I'm more interested in Explore or Overgrown Battlements, but we have the Golos to pick up the field. I just don't think it's likely to happen. I'm going to take Explore there. Alright, Maulfist Revolutionary Wield, but the Simic Proliferator card did not, so that is a little sad. I think we're still taking Maulfist Revolutionary though. I think that pick earlier may have been a mistake, because with the way that things have gone throughout this pack, a Merfolk Skydiver I think would definitely be better in this deck than Golos would be. So it is unfortunate not to get that. We have ended up with a pretty decent +1/+1 counter theme. We have here Voracious Typhon. 4 mana 4/4 comes back escaped with some counters on it. We're not going to have a lot of enchantments for Nessian Wanderer, but it is a 2 mana 1/3 that blocks in the early game. Strategic planning is just not really for us. Neither is Ancestral Mask. I think it's just the Typhon. I don't think we're likely to wheel anything, but I would love to wheel Kiora. I don't think that's likely. If somebody took Merfolk Skydiver, they may have taken Kiora as well. Tangled Florahedron or Mythos of Aluna. Copying stuff is fun, and we could try to splash in like one red source if we get a red dual land. Yeah, I like the Mythos here. Not gonna take any of those red cards, we'll just take the Temple, but I'm probably not running it. I suppose we do have Golos being able to pick up a Mountain and Sailor of Means making a treasure token. We did wheel Kiora. Well, that's pretty awesome, because I was drafting a little bit around Kiora there by taking Bloomhulk and Mesmerizing Vented. We definitely want more things to combo with Kiora for her to be super worth it, but she could be solid. And now I am going to take Temple of Epiphany, and we're just going to run this in our deck. I mean, worst case scenario, it's an island that comes into play tapped and scries one. That's not that bad, and best case scenario, we can use this to have a random red mana ready for Mythos of Aluna to make that card actually really good of copying one of, well, any permanent, and then also fighting something if it's a creature. So Mythos of Aluna does get a decent bit better if you have just random red mana to be able to double it up to be able to fight with. That would be really good if you spent red-green, you get 2 copies. That'd be super cool. So in terms of Enter the Battlefield effects, there's just Champion of Wits, which is alright, but I also like the Steam Vents or the Thrashing Brontodon. Thrashing Brontodon gives us an out to scary enchantments and artifacts on our opponent's field. Steam Vents gives us another red source. Champion of Wits, it does ETB, but it's just like not crazy. I think I'm going to take Brontodon here. That way I don't have to run Wilt if I want just like one random safety valve against opposing threats like that. So I love Ridgescale Tusker here because it works with Kiora, and it works with Panharmonicon, and it works with our +1/+1 counter theme. I think that just hits on too many levels to take anything else out of this pack, even though there are other solid cards. I mean, Llanowar Visionary is going to be pretty solid here, ramping us up and drawing a card, and comboing with Panharmonicon if we get lucky and have those out. And Selvala, really solid, also ramps us up and also can combo with Panharmonicon if we get those going. But yeah, Ridgescale Tusker just hits every facet of our deck. Now, it's got a Proliferator here, Guild-Pact Informant. That would be interesting. I don't think I've ended up with like enough counter stuff that I'm super interested in that. Definitely not interested in Nyx Herald. Maybe I'm taking the Swarm Shambler here. This kind of just sits there and gets bigger by itself, and if we happen to have stuff with counters on it, being able to spit out insects whenever our opponent tries removing them is decent. We're getting at least something out of them getting targeted. I think I like that better than Informant. I also have a ton of stuff happening at 3 mana already, so I'm much less likely to play another 3 mana card like Guild-Pact Informant than I would be something cheap like Swarm Shambler. Just something to do in the early turns. So I could double up Affectionate Indrix Enter the Battlefield effect, but I don't know how often this can fight two things and survive. But that would be a combo with Panharmonicon. I suppose it also combos with Kiora. It has 4 or more power, but Beanstalk Giant ramps us up and definitely combos with Kiora having 4 or more power. I think I like Beanstalk Giant better, even though it's not doubling up with Panharmonicon. It's just a super solid card. And we're not going to be Thassa's Oracling because we're not self-milling anywhere near enough to win off of this. So it's just kind of a hard to cast scry card for double blue. No Enter the Battlefield effects here. I guess there is Dinrova Horror we could try to splash in. Double that up is really powerful. And then we try to wheel Overgrown Tomb or something. Yeah, because it's that or Untamed Kavu. I suppose Kavu is pretty nice with Kiora and the +1/+1 theme. Kind of a hard choice between Horror and Kavu. I suppose I'm not super likely to splash Horror. Let's take the Kavu here. We're pretty much just treating this as a 5-drop. We almost always want to kick it. Mouth to Feed, Ave Eternal, Ophia, Bashiri. These are all fine. Aven Eternal, doubling up that Enter the Battlefield effect is not that exciting, but this is good at slowing down aggressive decks because it's a 3-mana 2/2 that comes with a 1/1. Mouth to Feed is a 3-mana 3/3. I mean, that also works, and it draws us cards later. It's Mouth to Feed or Aven Eternal, I think. Ovia Pashiri is just often way too slow for my tastes. Ooh, Fauna Shaman or Thassa's Intervention? I think I'm just taking Fauna Shaman. I just really love me a Fauna Shaman. We can search up Thrashing Brontodon when we need it. We could search up like a Sifter Worm if we're in the really late game and we want to gain life. Mesmerizing Benthe to slow down opponents. Just being able to access whatever creature we need whenever we want it is really cool. Body Double's actually pretty fun with Fauna Shaman, but we can also take Rex Sage for another Artifact or Enchantment hate card. I think I'm just taking the Body Double there though, because since I have one Artifact or Enchantment hating creature, I basically have 2, because now I have Thrashing Brontodon and Fauna Shaman. Either of those I can pick up Thrashing Brontodon with. So that's pretty solid. Now we'll take the Champion of Wits. Wheeling that feels pretty nice to go with our Panharmonicon. Goes with our Body Double too. Lets us discard something to copy with it. I think I'm taking Selvala now. Probably will end up running that. I don't know if I'll end up running Guild Pact Informant. I just have a massive stack of stuff at 3 mana here. Not really into the counterspells in this deck, as I said before. Because we are part green, we are really just dumping out a creature every turn. We're not going to be holding up mana. Earthshaker Canner with only 2 cards left in the pack. Somebody could have had a real sweet mono red build. I have to mention mono red at least once in the final Tinkerer's Cube draft video. Alright, so we've got 53 cards. We get to cut 13 things here. So we really get quite selective with our deck. I don't think I'm playing Overgrown Tomb, I just don't have any black. I will play Zagoth Triome because it's also a green-blue dual land. Does enter the battlefield tap no matter what, but we can cycle it in the late game. I think it's still solid even if you're just 2 of the 3 colors. And Temple of Epiphany we will play for just a random red source. For Mythos of Aluna if we get lucky, because coming into play tapped is not that big of a downside over just a random island, because we are at least getting the scry out of it as well. So let's see, I don't think I'm playing Momentous Fall, probably not like Winged Words or Wilt, no Quench. 9 more cards to cut. Kind of like keeping all of my 1s and 2s, because I don't have a ton of them, and I want to not just be dead in the water every game against red-based aggressive decks like Rakdos, Boros, or Mono Red. Even Gruul can be pretty quick. I think I'm... actually am ending up with a lot of counter stuff. Let me count them up. Swarm Shambler, Pelt Collector, Merfolk Branchwalker, Champion of Lambholt, Rishkar, Siren Lookout, potentially Typhon, but that's a slow one. Ridgescale Tusker, and Untamed Kavu. I've got like 8 cards that come into play with counters, potentially. I mean, I have to cut some creatures here. I have 24 creatures. Yeah, I have to cut some creatures. Unless I really want to go big on Lead the Stampede, then I just cut a lot of non-creature stuff. Like, I guess Lead the Stampede is really strong if we have more than 20 creatures in this deck. We could just be all creatures.deck. That sounds kind of fun. I'm definitely keeping Panharmonicon and Helm of the Host, though, because those are just really fun cards to play with. So I guess I can cut the Sword, the Explorer. Because, yeah, Explorer ramps you up to be able to ramp up to 4 mana from 2. That's what Explorer is the best at, because on turn 2 you play it, you play an additional land, which means you play your 3rd land on turn 2, which means on turn 4 you play your 4th land, and then you can cast your 4 mana stuff. But in this deck, Explorer is actually not that exciting. It helps us get up to like our 5 mana stuff, which is exciting, but we just have so much 3 mana stuff that we don't really need to make the jump from 2 mana to 4 mana with Explorer, because we want to cast a turn 3 mana card. So I think Explorer is a decent cut here. Kiora, how many cards did I actually get with 4 or more power? I don't think anything at 3 is going to have 4 power. Yeah. I mean, we could Eternalize Champion of Wits. That would come in with 4 power, so maybe you count that. We've got Bloomhulk, Voracious Typhon, Ridgescale Tusker, Mesmerizing Benthid. Ideally, Body Double. And then Untamed Kavu. I guess we have 8, Beanstalk Giant and Sifter Worm. And this also does ramp us up from 3 to 5, which is more exciting than the jump from 2 to 4, I think. I kind of like Kiora staying in. Get back in here, Beanstalk Giant. Every time I try to scooch my cards over, I accidentally cut them. I'm just trying to scooch that to 3 mana, because we can cast it as a ramp spell on 3. This is one heck of a curve. I mean, this is just the 3 mana stack over here. So I'm going to cut the Informants. Cut 3 more creatures for sure. Get down to just 20. Selvala just always sketches me out, because like what happens when I'm paired against Gruul? Then they just draw way more cards than me. But how often am I really paired against Gruul? I feel like I'm against aggressive decks pretty often that'll just have smaller stuff. White-black life gain does have big stuff, but it's stuff that gets big over time. It doesn't actually enter the battlefield with a bunch of power. Most of the blue decks aren't going to have anything big. Selvala is probably still worth running in here with the amount of just like 4 power stuff we have for Kiora. Maybe I am cutting Sailor of Means. Maybe the Champion of Wits? Body Double is a weird one to evaluate, because like sometimes it's going to be really good, but I feel in some matchups it's just going to suck. So I'm not so sure about the Body Double. Because yeah, if we're playing against any aggressive deck, this card is just going to suck because there's not going to be anything good in the grave that early, like on turn 5. So this card is like really slow, I feel. And we don't have any self-mill or anything to go with it. Or even milling your opponent, this card can do stuff because it can copy a card in their grave. I think I'm going to cut the Body Double. 3 more cuts. Mouth to Feed because it's a creature, but it's not a creature, but we want them to be creatures for Lead the Stampede to just draw a ton of cards. Not cutting Panharmonicon, not cutting Helm, not cutting Mythos. Maybe the Kiora. Again, every time I'm like, maybe I cut this, my mouse just double clicks for me. So 2 more cuts to this deck, and then we'll be off the ground running in the final Tinkerer's Cube draft. I suppose Golos is literally just ramping us into Sifter Worm, and that's it. But it's a 3/5 big old blocker. I guess it doesn't draw a card off Cure or anything. Yeah, we can cut a Golos here. Grabs us our 1 red source for the Mythos, but we don't ever need to pay the red. It would just be nice to... We could play 1 Mountain with Beanstalk Giant here as well for the Mythos. Augur of Bolas actually just doesn't work in here at all, but it's one of my only 2-mana creatures. Oh yeah, I've really not drafted a lot of small creatures. So I could cut Augur of Bolas, but then I just never do anything turn 1 or turn 2, and that gets real scary. So I just play Augur of Bolas, and I just, fingers crossed, we hit that Lead the Stampede or Mythos of Aluna, my 2 instants or sorceries. I think we still have to keep it in here just as a 2-mana 1/3 to be able to block cards early. But that is probably the most awkward card in our deck. That is pretty funny. I want to cut one of these 3-mana cards, but at the same time I don't. I honestly feel like the cut that makes the most sense is Thrashing Brontodon, but it does hurt me not being able to just blow up Divine Visitation or a Crystalline Giant, a Mechagodzilla, a Helm of the Host. There's just so much scary stuff Brontodon can blow up. But you know what? We're going to be bold here. We don't need any way to interact with our opponent. We're just going to be doing cool stuff on our own field. We're going to double everything up with Panharmonicon. We're going to be having a fantastic time, and nothing will ruin our day. So we've got 5 blue symbols, 17 green, 8, 9, 10 green sources, 6, 7, 8, 9 blue sources. Got a double blue on Mythos and Mesmerizing Benthid. Got a Beanstalk Giant that can grab a blue. Kiora can untap a blue. Selvala can add a mana of any color. I think I can cut 1 more island and put in 1 more forest. And you know what? We're going to not make the biggest mistake that we made in our last deck. We're going to change our basic lands. And that is the actual secret to 7-0 runs in the Magic Arena Tinkerer's Cube. You all wanted to know? Well, now you know. I don't know if you wanted to know. Nobody asked. We're just gonna change the lands though, because that is the secret. Oops, I almost cut the good lands. All right, there's our 40 card draft deck, our final Magic Arena Tinkerer's Cube draft deck before the Kaldheim Early Access event tomorrow. I think every time I mention that, I do have to mention that Wizards of the Coast is providing me the early access account that I will be playing on tomorrow. I think they said I have to mention that every time I promote it. So if it comes up in discussion, I'm just going to say, thank you Wizards of the Coast for providing me with the early access account to play Kaldheim tomorrow. Because FTC disclosures are definitely a thing. So this is a slow hand, but it's a slow deck. We have almost nothing at 1 and 2 mana in the deck, so I'm not going to mulligan trying to hit one of them. That just seems like a bad idea. We at least have a turn 3 play. That's one thing we can do pretty consistently. Our opponent starts off with a Glasspool Shore instead of a Glasspool Mimic. Ooh, maybe this is the other Simic drafter at our table. Or they just, drafted in a different pod and ended up in Simic as well. We'll see. Got that turn 3 Siren Lookout, hitting Augur Bolas. Get in the graveyard. Get out of here. I'm trying to hit 7 mana this game, and I only have 5. I need 2 more to hit Sifter Worm. So get out of here. 2 mana card that doesn't even block their flyer. Temple of Deceit from our opponent. They've presented Sultai to us. Maybe it'll just be our deck, but better. I'm going to cast Panharmonicon on turn 4, and then they're going to cast Panharmonicon on turn 4. But then they're going to cast Yarok on turn 5, and I'm going to feel insufficient over here. Just going to feel real sad. I'm actually just going to hold off on the attack here. I like just holding back Skydiver until they hit 5 mana, because we're a slow kind of deck that'll win over the course of a long game. I don't want to really let any damage in. But, I mean, they're Sultai. They're probably also doing the same game plan. We'll just see who does it better. With a Panharmonicon on board, I'm hoping I do it better. And plot twist, after that migration path, they're actually 5-color. So that is something to keep in mind. Kind of want to get a Pelt Collector out before I play this Benthid, but at the same time, can I really just not play a 4-5 this turn? Yeah, let's play a 4-5 with 4 0-2s. Seems like plenty annoying. Our opponent does have enough mana to throw a counter on the Merfolk Skydiver when they want. It is 5 mana to do that, so now I'm just going to send in, because if they really want to get in, they can do it next turn. Luckily, we're really good at blocking ground creatures this game. We got 4 illusions that temporarily tap down an opposing creature. It's going to be really annoying to get in with any creatures that aren't flying or evasive in some way. So our opponent has every single color of mana up, and they've got 6 mana. The world is their oyster here. Very few cards in the cube you cannot cast in this situation. I guess they don't have double red or double white, but they have double black or double blue or double green. And they've got all 5 colors. So yeah, I stand by my previous statement. There's Golos grabbing Field of the Dead? Possibly. I would definitely not be surprised, and that would spit out a 2/2 zombie at this point. They have 6 different lands, so Field of the Dead would be the 7th. Alright, I was gonna say, yeah, this amount of debate from our opponent makes me feel like maybe they did not manage to grab the field. So that is unfortunate for our opponent, but I will absolutely take it. I am happy to not see a gigantic army of 2/2s just running around all game. So now I get to play Pelt Collector into Voracious Typhon, and this should put 2 counters on Pelt Collector. Yep. Super nice little combo. Descend in with Benthid. I guess Benthid is literally just a hexproof 4/5, so it doesn't actually get in. It just gets blocked by Golos. So we're actually under a lot of pressure just from Golos' exile ability. They definitely have enough mana to do that. They're just going to cast whatever their top 3 cards are every turn from now on if they want to. If they don't have anything relevant to play in their hand. I'm pretty scared. So, next turn I do get to kick an Untamed Kavu, and then Pelt Collector turns into a 5/5. At least the Pelt Collector gets to attack. And then since I will be attacking with a 4/5 and a 4/4, one of those will get in for damage if I just slap the all attack button. Alright. Our potential 5/5 is very dead. The God Eternals have entered the game. Unfortunately, there went one of my +1/+1 counter cards, so I don't get to double counters onto that. I'm going to play the Untamed Kavu before I play this Maul Fist, so that I get to double counters on the Kavu and the Siren. And when I say double counters, I don't mean double the number of counters on it. I mean give it one more counter twice. That was a really confusing terminology that I used there. I apologize. Now that they have a 4/4 zombie army, we don't get to attack in with our 4/5 and our 4/4 like I wanted to. I guess I could, because this can escape later, but I only have 5 mana right now. I'm still 2 mana away from escaping it, and on turn 7 I'm going to want to play Sifter Worm as well, so we're very far away from escaping Voracious Typhon. But that would be the only reason to attack, is if I just really wanted to throw Typhon in the grave, because they get to block my 4/5 with their 3/5, and my 4/4 with their 4/4 and trade there. Kenner's transformation on our only flyer is a big issue. Now we're going to have a lot of trouble breaking in against their board state. Taking 3 in the sky. They did proliferate with the Skydiver, getting a counter on that and a counter on their army, turning it into a 5/5. Let's just drop down the Revolutionary. Turn our Siren Lookout into a 5/5. Oh, I guess Revolutionary doesn't actually proliferate, it just chooses one of our cards. But I am going to attack in with Siren Lookout here. The only way they kill it is if they double block, and then I get to kill Golos to keep them from exiling the top 3 and just casting them for free every turn. Golos' ability is a definite win condition. So I don't think they'd accept the trade there. They're 2 mana away from being able to proliferate twice with the Skydiver. So at most, their army is going to be a 6/6 here, which still trades with our 6/6. Uh-oh. Ridge-Scale Tusker actually changes that a bit. I guess it doesn't. It is still just a 6/6, so it would trade with Siren Lookout still. Do I want to just trade there and then Sifter Worm, or do I want to Sifter Worm and see what I'm drawing before I choose my attacks? Do I have anything that would like really make me want to keep Siren Lookout on the board? Maybe, you know, Helm of the Host here, I think I'd actually put on Siren Lookout to have more flyers. Really trying to hit Champion of Lambholt, that would be sick. Alright, yeah, I'm going to Sifter Worm pre-combat. Uh-oh. Okay, I was going to say, do they have another counter? They only have 1 blue mana up, so I'd be very sad. There's Champion of Lambholt and Helm of the Host? Oh no. What do I put first? I'm down to 11. I'm under a lot of pressure with their flying damage. I don't have enough mana to play Helm of the Host and equip it the turn I play it, but I do gain the life off the Sifter Worm, so I am gaining a lot of life here. 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I've got 7 mana, so I don't even have enough mana to play Champion of Lambholt and equip something with the host in the same turn. Oh, that's really awkward. Well, I guess I get rid of the land for sure, and we can see what the third card is. I guess I'm probably grabbing the Helm. Let's reveal the Helm and look again. Another land. I think I'm just gaining the Helm life. We're going to put Helm on top. Could throw Helm of the Host on Sifter Worm. It'll take some time to do that, but then I'm just gaining so much life. And then I just make an army of like 7/7 tramples, try to win that way. Yeah. Maybe. I don't think I attack with the Siren Lookout. I was thinking maybe I attack with the Siren Lookout just to try to clear out their 6/6 before they proliferate onto it again. Makes it so their field is smaller so that Sifter Worm can get in for lethal faster. But if we manage to get Helm of the Host out and equip it to Sifter Worm without Sifter Worm dying, Sifter Worm's just going to gain us enough life to survive for a while anyway. Blink of an eye on Siren Lookout. I actually like that. I really like being able to play a flyer here. Plus, it's going to explore twice with Panharmonicon, so it'll get 2 +1/+1 counters. Alright, well, I no longer like this. I mean, I still like having Siren Lookout bounced, so I get to play it as a chump blocker for their gigantic flying threats that they've presented. But I'm no longer planning on being able to have my Siren Lookout survive forever. I guess that was already very unlikely. Just in case they have Censor, because they have 1 blue mana up, I'm going to play Helm of the Host first. So if they counter unless I pay 1, they don't get to counter the Helm. But they do get to counter the Siren, but I don't immediately die to that. Okay. So we get to explore twice. I am keeping the champion, right? I'm not going to be able to cast the champion. Here's the thing, I don't get to cast the champion next turn because I have to equip the Helm of the Host to not die. I have to like throw it on Sifter Worm to gain a bunch of life, or throw it on Siren Lookout to get another chump blocker. I don't think throwing it on Siren Lookout will be a viable option because if Siren Lookout is still on the board, I'll have taken 10 this turn. So I just have to throw it on Sifter Worm and hope for the best. I have to spend 5 on that, so I only have 2 mana up for champion. I think that's still probably my win con though, right? I don't know. I'm gonna leave it on top. And then we're definitely not attacking, I think. Gazul's Fury to kill Siren Lookout. Okay. Do they have a lethal pump here? Proliferate, they hit for 11. Still at 2. Didn't even proliferate, so I guess I get to stay at 3. Maybe they just have the removal for the Sifter Worm, so I don't get to gain more life. I do have to gain like 10 life off of the Sifter Worm. I have to hit something that costs like 5 to survive with the Helm of the Host. Thorn Lieutenant, okay. Alright. We have to try to gain life here. Throw it on Sifter Worm. Come on, 5-drop. Hit a 5-drop. Please, fingers crossed, let's do this. 3 drops. If I hit one of those twice, I gain 6 life. Which means I go to 9, and then I take 11, 12 actually. Because they get to pump right now during my turn. That would be 11 damage. They get to pump again during their turn. That would be 12 damage. Potentially 13 damage if they have another land in hand. So if they have another land in hand, I just die even if I hit a 5-drop. I really need to hit like Beanstalk Giant and get like super lucky here. So I guess I have to throw all these on the bottom because even if I hit a 3-drop and then a 5-drop, I only gain 8 and I go to 11. I'm just very dead if I only gain 11. So I have to just throw them on bottom and hope for Beanstalk Giant. There's something crazy on top. Bloom Hulk is 4. I could still survive if I hit Beanstalk Giant this time. Well, last chance. Lead the Stampede, that's only 3. Not gonna be enough life there, unfortunately. The token does have haste though. So I don't know. Go for it. We got a bunch of 0-2s on the ground to block with, I guess. So I don't think this is enough damage, though. I don't think this is lethal damage on the ground here, especially if they get to throw a 2-3 out. I don't think Golos actually lets you cast them at instant speed, does it? I don't think so. Yeah, it doesn't. So those are just exiled forever. I didn't even know they had enough mana to Golos. I was just thinking about them proliferating. Either way, they have 10 flying damage against me. So really doesn't matter here. As long as they block correctly. I guess they could just mess up their blocks. I don't think it's gonna happen though. I haven't done the math though, but math is for blockers. What? Oh my god. Well, I guess I'm gonna do the math. I'm gonna go back and do the math. Were they just dead? Were they actually just dead? Did I just not even need to worry about the life gain there because I just had a lethal attack? So they have 12, 13, 14, 15 toughness of blockers. So they block Zombie Army onto Sifter Worm, take 1. Golos onto Sifter Worm, take 1. So they take 2 damage there. Thorn Lieutenant blocks Mesmerizing Benthid, and then they take 7. Right? They just take 9 damage total? Am I missing something? Am I missing something that my own cards do here? I'm pretty sure they could have survived and then just slapped me in the sky for super lethal. Maybe they're just being very nice to me. In which case, I'll accept it. I want all the help I can get in this final Tinkerer's Cube draft. So yeah, I mean, block there, take 1, block there, take 2, block there. They take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, they totally could have survived. Weird one, but I'm absolutely going to take that. If that helps me get to my 7 wins, then so be it. Maybe they were just really mad that they couldn't easily survive without losing Golos, but I think they probably could have blocked in a way to survive and keep Golos on board. That was probably an option. I didn't try to do the math on that option because they didn't need to do that at all since they had lethal flyers, but really strange ending to that game. But it was pretty hype trying to hit Beanstalk Giant to just gain a ton of life. Unfortunately, we didn't hit it, but fortunately our opponent scooped anyway. Alright, I've got Kiora into multiple 4-power creatures, so we'll be drawing a lot of cards this game, plus Lead the Stampede in our deck, as we've seen, can potentially draw a lot of cards. I don't love throwing Kiora out with nothing to block to protect her, but I don't feel like Conclave Mentor is that likely to get up to 7 power here, so Kiora's probably staying out for a second. Alright, Conclave Mentor into Knight of Autumn is very threatening. Get a 5-4. If they have a removal spell in hand, then Kiora will die here if I play Voracious Typhon. Or, I guess Kiora's going to die here no matter what if they have a removal spell in hand. What happens if I Mythos? I Mythos Knight of Autumn, have it come to play as a 4-3. That seems just not great. I just play the Typhon, right? Does proliferating onto Kiora help her? I guess if I proliferate onto Kiora, then she can survive getting hit for 5, but I don't see where that would be relevant here, because I'm just going to block Knight of Autumn if I can block, and if I can't block, Kiora's just dead. I guess it would be relevant because then they can't use a removal spell and hit me for 2 that turn. I think I still prefer just sending out the Typhon first, because it's possible that we get some more stuff that has +1/+1 counters to throw counters onto with Proliferate, and Typhon can come back from the grave, whereas Bloomhulk can't. So Voracious Typhon we're happier to have in the graveyard. So we do take 2 more damage than we would have if we played Bloomhulk here if they have a removal spell to get rid of Typhon, but I'm fine with that. Okay, turn it into a 3-3. So Kiora does survive then. I guess, yeah, this is actually like one little corner case here where Bloomhulk would have been better, because then Bloomhulk making Kiora 6 loyalty. If they just had Kendra's transformation, Bloomhulk's a 3-3. I can just let the Knight of Autumn through and keep my 3-3 and keep Kiora on the board. So Bloomhulk actually, in hindsight, would have been better there. But I had no way of knowing that, so I'm still fine with the play that I made. I think I am just playing Bloomhulk here, though. Still don't have Sifter Worm mana. Didn't draw into a different large creature. Not going to Mythos on the Knight, because this isn't tap for red, so I don't have the ability to fight their Mentor away. Could lead the Stampede, but then Kiora just dies. We're going to drop a Bloomhulk. Evolution Sage, that's pretty solid. Don't have anything with counters right now, but potentially. Fearless Fledgling from our opponents, and the land, making it a 3-3. Conclave Mentor doing a lot of stuff here. There comes Knight of Autumn. We're going to accept that trade. Now, I have nothing to put counters on, so there's not a reason to Evolution Sage first here. I think I'm just playing a Sifter Worm.
Let's get moving.
Let's get that out here. Draw another card and scry 3. Pick up a Beanstalk Giant, and we've got a Champion of Lambholt coming up. It's pretty fantastic. Hopefully we can play some stuff here that's just naturally bigger than their stuff. I guess, wow, Kiora is exceptionally dead here. Because Tristani giving their whole field +1/+1, plus having the land to make Fledgling 5/5 flyer. She was already dead before that. Could play Champion into Evolution Sage and then play a land. That's actually a pretty sweet play. Then Champion's a 3/3. And then none of their creatures can block my Sifter Worm. But I am taking a lot of damage from Tristani, which is pretty threatening. But then I can also copy their Tristani and make my own. I could copy their Conclave Mentor too for the Champion and then really try to go off next turn. That's actually so cute. I'm just going to do that. I'm trying for some cheesy combos to close out this game. We'll see how well it works for us. There's an argument for holding back Sifter Worm as well, because it blocks any of their ground creatures well, but I think I'm going to send it in. Conclave Mentor can still block, but I highly doubt that that's going to block when they have a Fearless Fledgling on the board. And I'm not going to be able to block Fearless Fledgling most likely, because all they have to do is landfall to give it flying, so I'm definitely not holding Sifter Worm back to block that. They are dead in 3 swings of a Sifter Worm. Oh. Cartouche of Strength, kill the Champion of Lambholt. There goes all of the fun stuff I had planned, and now their creatures can actually block. That's rough. Unfortunately, Evolution Sage is only 3 power. If it was 4 power, I would snap block there. Because now my +1/+1 counter card is gone. Fauna Shaman? 1, 2. I do have enough mana to cast Lead the Stampede and Mythos of Aluna. So I kind of like just casting Lead the Stampede here, see what we draw into. Oh. I still have like very close to 20 creatures in this deck, so hitting only 1 is really rough, but hitting Panharmonicon and Helm of the Host, they just go on the bottom. That's really sad. That's... oh. That hurts my soul. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They could block Sifter Worm with like everything. Maybe I just make another Sifter Worm over another Tristani. Yeah, sure. Just make another Sifter Worm. I'm glad I did that. Get that out of here. I don't want to see any of those lands around here. Ridgescale Tusker is a sick draw, too. Put a +1/+1 counter on my whole field, then the next time I play a land, Evolution Sage makes my whole field even bigger. I'm very happy with this trade. Now the Fledgling does not get 2 counters every time. It only gets 1. It does still get flying though, and I suppose it is big enough where that doesn't need to get that much bigger, it just needs to get flying. Hanged Executioner 2, no. Mono removal, get out of here. I should have known they have the Damnation sleeves. Absolutely beautiful sleeves. Actually really weird kind of to look at, but they are lovely in a way as well. Should have known the second I saw those sleeves, they were just going to kill everything I did. So I can Ridge Scale Tusker. I only have 2 mana up after that, so I guess I can Fauna Shaman and then Ridge Scale Tusker. Get a counter on everything. But I don't have enough to Ridge Scale Tusker and then Beanstalk Giant to proliferate. So that's a little sad. I only have 7 mana, so I also don't have enough mana to play Selvala into something to try to draw a card, but they have an 8/8 on their board, so I'm just not going to draw cards off of Selvala. I would need the largest power creature to do that. I can play a Voracious Typhon for my grave, but then I don't play anything else. I can't attack into that 8/8. I can if I Tusker. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They have to block with everything else to kill it. Sure, we're going to play Fauna Shaman first. Get another counter on that as well. Then send in the 8/8. Wow. Okay. I'm happy with that. That was by far their biggest threat towards killing me. And Hanged Executioner could have just killed my 8/8 this turn. But I guess now, they get to kill like Fauna Shaman or Evolution Sage. I suppose either of those is potentially very threatening. Alright. Tristani has mutated into a Cub Warden. I guess there's alternatively that as well. They don't really need to kill anything with the Executioner when they can use that as their primary threat to try to kill me now. I think I'm definitely going to Fauna Shaman away the Augur of Bolas. The only thing that stops me from doing is Typhon or Beanstalk Giant. I don't get to play a 7 mana card here, but either of those does kind of just get Hanged Executionered. What creatures do I have that I would search for here? I have Mesmerizing Benthid, Rishkar, Malfist Revolutionary, Siren Lookout, Untamed Kavu, Murpha Branchwalker, Pelt Collector, and Swarm Shambler. All of my good creatures are kind of just already gone. I guess I could get Siren Lookout to block their stuff. If I can hit a non-land with that. I definitely have creatures that are better than Augur of Bolas. That is just a certainty. Yeah, my best creatures are just already gone. I think I take the Siren here. Really hope to hit a non-land on top. And then I can Beanstalk Giant to proliferate onto the Lookout. Come on. Oh, not getting a counter there is really bad. Really, really wanted a counter to be able to block their 2/2 flyers with a 2/3 flyer. Do get to just like sit here and proliferate again though, so that's kind of cute. Got a 6/5 now. How do they kill that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Block with Siona and a 2/2. Seems not great for me. Tusker doesn't have any counters on it, so it's not going to get bigger throughout this game, so I'm fine trading that for a 3/3 and a 2/2, I think. And they just don't block. I think Fauna Shaman for Rishkar is actually pretty good here now. But I don't have a land in hand. I guess if I draw a land, Fauna Shaman, discard Selvala, pick up Rishkar. But now they've killed our Evolution Sage, so we aren't proliferating onto our whole field anymore. But still, I mean, a counter on our Siren Lookout is pretty important to stop that 2/2 flyer. Yeah, let's go ahead. Discard Selvala. Selvala doesn't... Well, actually, I completely forgot they don't have the 8/8 anymore, so Selvala could draw cards off Beanstalk Giant and Typhon. That was probably a bad discard. But I was still under the mindset that I got put in by them having an 8/8 on board, so that was a really bad call on my part there. Let's see. I don't really want to attack with Tusker this turn, so I'm gonna just make a 10/10. Now I have a 2/3 flying blocker, so they can't hit me anymore. We're just gonna start attacking with a 10/10 every turn. There's Renata. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 power on their board. What are their best blocks? Those tokens, that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I kill all their ground creatures and like their Cub Warden. I think attacking it is super solid there. Don't know about attacking in with the Tusker. It seems not fantastic. Because they can block with a 3/3 and a 3/5. And then I only kill their 3/3. Let's put Beanstalk Giant up to 11. And then send in with that. I get to wipe out a lot of their board here, which clears the way for Ridge-Scale Tusker, Fauna Shaman, and Voracious Typhon to start attacking in. Alright. So we kill the hardest stuff to get through. So we're going to kill the 3/5 and the 4/4. Oh yeah, and the Cub Warden was Tristani, so that actually kills a 1/1 as well, and weakens the rest of their field. So that is really solid. I don't have anything to bring stuff back from the grave, so it doesn't matter what we escape with.
Go for a swim and cool off.
Did Kiora just get mad at me from the grave? She says she's gonna go for a swim and cool off because I exiled her? Okay. Okay, Kiora. Alright. Anguirus coming out to destroy an artifact or enchantment and mutate. Mutating onto a lifelinker is really relevant here, even if I don't have an artifact or enchantment. Let's just use the Fauna Shaman. Pelt Collector doesn't do a lot here. Just not attack with it. Let's just grab our biggest, scariest threat. It's probably a 5/5. Bented's pretty nice too. I'm going to pick up the 5/5. Bam. And they scoop them up. So that was a pretty great Fauna Shaman game. Fauna Shaman did a lot for us there. Obviously discarding... what was it? Selvala. Discarding Selvala was really awkward. I just kept playing under the assumption that I couldn't draw any cards out of it because they had an 8/8 on the board, but the 8/8 had already traded away. Wow, I have no losses with this? I just like imagined a game in the middle there where I lost. It's probably because I feel like both of the games that we've had already were games where we could have handedly lost. The first game, our opponent just conceded for fun, I guess. And then this game, I think if my opponent did not trade their Fearless Fledgling off for my Sifter Worm, they probably would have won if they just like exiled my Sifter Worm and just kept attacking me with the like 8 power flyer. Like that is just such a scary, aggressive clock. Opponent starts with a Pelt Collector, so my Selvala is looking real awkward here, because a green deck that starts with Pelt Collector is likely to have a lot of high power creatures, and they can draw a lot of cards off of my Selvala, if that is the case. So I don't love that, but I'm probably still just going to play it this turn. I could Fauna Shaman. What do I have for 2 mana if I use Fauna Shaman this turn? I have Augur Bolas, Pelt Collector, Swarm Shambler. We're not going to do that. Let's just play Selvala, because now I have Panharmonicon coming up, so maybe... Oh, could you imagine if I Panharmonicon, which doubles my creature's abilities, right? And then my opponent gets to draw 2 cards off of my Selvala? That would be really awkward. I guess Selvala taps for 2 here, so I can play the Temple this turn. This is just a really bad idea, but I feel like I just gotta do it. We're just gonna play a Panharmonicon out. So Selvala triggers twice, and then we're just gonna let our opponent do whatever they want. If they play like a 4 power creature here, I think they draw 3 cards because they draw 2 off of our Selvala and 1 off of their own. Okay, good. That's just a 2 power creature. It's just a 2 power creature. Doesn't trigger. Doesn't trigger. Can I cast Sifter Worm this turn? I don't think I can. But I can Fauna Shaman for something. I can Fauna Shaman for a 5-mana card because Selvala taps for 2. Well, our opponent's field is very scary. They've got a lot of +1/+1 counter stuff going on. I'm not going to Mythos here, although I could Mythos to copy something and shoot something. I want to Mythos on something that will... I want to Mythos on something that'll actually draw me a card off Selvala as well. Like, I really want to Mythos Sifter Worm later. That'd be really cool. Okay, so if I Fauna Shaman here, I have 5 mana up afterwards. So let's Fauna Shaman and grab something with at least 3 power. So Mesmerizing Benthid would be okay. Evolution Sage could be good. Don't have any counters yet, though, so maybe not. Untamed Kavu, Ridgescale Tusker. Kind of like the Ridgescale Tusker. It seems plenty solid. It's a 5/5, and it makes my other stuff bigger. Untamed Kavu is just a 5/5. Yeah. Make a 5/5, put 2 +1/+1 counters on all my other creatures with Panharmonicon. I think that's my best play here, and I draw 3 cards because I double my Selvala and their Selvala triggers once. That was pretty sweet. And I could Mythos of Aluna on my Ridgescale Tusker, double up that effect, and probably kill their Luminarch aspirants. The Great Henge. Uh-oh. Don't play something big. Don't play something big. Path of Discovery. Okay. Selvala taps for 5 mana now, thanks to having a 5-power creature on the board, so we're going to have a real big turn, I think. Sifter Worm, kill their Selvala. If I can Mythos it. Do I have enough mana to Mythos it too? Okay, so Selvala makes 5 here, so 5, 6, 7. I'm 1 mana off from Mythosing and casting Sifter Worm this turn. Dang. That would be so cool. Because I really want to kill their Selvala, but none of my creatures are big enough to do it yet. I've got technically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have technically 10 mana, so I spend 1 and then I have 9 to play around with. So I could pick up like a Beanstalk Giant. I think I'm just casting Sifter Worm. We're going to double that enter the battlefield effect. Triple Selvala triggers to draw cards. Then I have 3 mana up afterwards. Sure. Scry 3. Do I want to draw into a Bloom Hulk? I don't want to draw into an Augur Bolas, I'm fairly certain. I don't really want to draw a Bloom Hulk either. It doesn't seem incredible. I mean, it's fine with 2 cards with counters on them. I do like drawing into Rishkar because it's 3 mana and I can actually dump it out here and then just have 1,000,000 mana. Alright, so here's Rishkar. Oh yeah, and Rishkar doubles too? Panharmonicon is just... it's doing so much here. Okay, this is actually really cool. So I got 2 mana up now. Yeah. I could play a Branchwalker. I have a 9/9 and a 3/3 to block with. I can probably afford to do that, and then I explore twice. Pelk Collector's cute, but I'm gonna send him in the grave. I'm just looking for like Helm of the Host to just go off now. That would be so fun. Alright. Banishing Lights. Is that gonna hit Panharmonicon? Well, that's gonna hit Sifter Worm. That's fair. That's fair. Ah, that's my only creature that I could have used to fight their Selvala with Mythos of Aluna. None of my creatures are gonna be 6 power. Lead the Stampede. That can't draw into a Helm of the Host, so I don't know if I actually even want to do that right now. And I've drawn out a lot of my creatures using like Pelt Collector or Fauna Shaman and stuff. 4, 5, 6, 7. They have 7 power to block with. Maybe I'm just getting aggressive here, and I just like shoot Luminarch Aspirant so their field can't get any bigger from this point on. Yeah, let's just get really aggressive here. I'm going to stop doing all the cheeky little combo stuff, and we're just going to make another Ridgescale Tusker, put 2 more counters on the rest of my field, and kill the Aspirant so their field doesn't get any bigger. I actually fight twice, so I kill Pelt Collector too. That's actually phenomenal. They have 1 blocker, and now my whole field gets +2/+2 permanently. Panharmonica's just really going nuts here. This is ridiculous. Go on in, my wonderful children. Oh, did they tap their 1 blocker to do that? I guess they're just dead. I suppose they were probably just dead anyway. That was a lot of damage. That was a ridiculous turn. Panharmonicon. The absolute nuts Panharmonicon deck here. We have a lot of cards that like don't have enter the battlefield effects, but that draw with Panharmonicon lined up really well. Fauna Shaman with Panharmonicon just guarantees you get to do things with it. And the Mythos of Aluna 2 with the Ridgescale Tusker was super solid. That was a pretty sweet game, so we're at 3 wins and no losses yet. As I said before, it really doesn't feel like I've had no losses. It feels like I've definitely lost a couple times. I guess I lost in spirit a couple times. I think there were a couple of those decks that definitely had a better draw or just a better deck in general, but just didn't end up in our opponent's favor. Well, we're going to keep this. Pelt Collector into Evolution Sage can make Pelt Collector get really big. Kiora can potentially draw us more cards later, and Helm of the Host can do Helm of the Host things. Just make a ton of tokens. I'm very unlikely to mulligan any hand in this deck that actually has a 1 or 2 mana card, just because I have so few of those. And that most of the time I'm sitting here doing nothing for quite a few turns, which is really, really bad. It's not generally what you want to do. Unless you have, like, a Karuga as your companion, which rewards you for having a deck with nothing but 3 mana or up cards. Kiora makes sure that I can cast Helm of the Host the next turn. But Evolution Sage, if I do draw a land next turn, is a really solid curve of just playing Evolution Sage and the next turn I play a land, then Helm of the Host. I think we're going to go for it here. Helm of the Host is going to take a while to set up, and if I'm just planning on setting that up, I play Kiora, and then I play Helm of the Host, and then I put Helm of the Host on a 1/1. So the setup is really bad right now for that. So we did draw the Forest. I think I am going to cast Helm of the Host instead of Kiora here, so I will play the land pre-casting a spell. If I was going to play Kiora, then I would obviously play Kiora first, so I proliferate onto her as well. I don't actually want to trade here, because these two just combo together so well. Usually I would snap off that trade. I think if my opponent had any black sources out, I'd snap off that trade, because then I know they're going to have a lot of ways to trigger it that don't necessarily need them to dump 6 mana into it. But since they're white-green, I feel like they're only going to trigger this whenever they're spending 6 to pump it up and give it lifelink. We'll see. Our opponent could just like play a Healer's Hawk, and then the turn after that they could Faith's Fetters one of my creatures. Healer Hawk would be a 1/1 flying lifelink, and then Faith's Fetters would gain 4 life when it comes into play. That would be horrible for me. So I get to proliferate again and then throw Helm of the Host onto Evolution Sage here, I suppose. And then maybe, you know, every time I hit a land, I'm just losing my mind. Sure, that seems like the most fun play. I don't know if it's the best play, because I could play Benthid there. I could play a Kiora there. Now I would also be trading with a little Hippo token, so we're also just going to not attack, because presumptively next turn we'll have 3 evolution stages out, so if I play a land next turn, I proliferate 3 times. This is dumb. I don't know if I'm playing right, but I'm playing to our shenanigans, to our combos, so let's just do it. Just go for it. Citizen Training from our opponent draws them a card and turns Resplendent Angel into a 4/3 Flying Trample. Very scary card. Super solid standalone threat. And then an Untamed Kavu. They're just trying to get blockers out. They are scared. I don't have a land here, so I can just play whatever I want pre-combat. I think I want to play Kiora before I play my Benthid, but I also don't really want to play Revolutionary at this point. I guess I throw a counter on Pelt Collector, but yeah, that doesn't seem crazy. I'm just going to play Kiora. I could untap a card and play Maulfist as well. Actually, I didn't even think of that. Yeah, that's sweet.
Ocean surges, life thrives.
Could put a counter back on Kiora, but I think I'd rather throw one on Pelt Collector. I don't know if I'm gonna hit another land, but if I do, that's like so funny with Pelt Collector. But they're starting to get to the point. Resplendent Angel has 4 power that can like fight into Kiora well. I think I'm gonna send in my non-helmed evolution sages. We're just gonna start treating them as 3/2s with no text, because we cannot confirm that we're gonna hit lands. So let's just clear their field a bit. Night of Autumn. Well, there goes Helm of the Host. There goes my hero. That does genuinely make me quite sad. I was having fun. And they took it away. They took it away with the Night of Autumn. Feels bad. Feels pretty bad. I think we're still in a pretty fantastic position with Kiora here. And Evolution Sage, even with just one of them, is going to be doing some stuff. We'll play a Sifter Worm here. Draws a card off of Kiora and scries.
I love to make a splash.
And gains life. Does a lot of big stuff. I'm taking a Beanstalk Giant. That is just going to happen here. We'll reveal it and draw it. Our opponent does not care. They're over it. Like, no more Simic Proliferate general nonsense. I'm going to go into the next matchup and play against a real deck. Well, to each their own, opponent. I'm going to go pull out a Panharmonicon and do nothing with it for round 5. We haven't dropped the game. Somehow we're 4-0. Somehow, Simic Panharmonicon, 4-0 here. I think 2 of the games were definitely earned victories, but 2 of them were just weird circumstances that got us the win. But hey, more arguments towards the rarely / never conceding argument, because those were games where it really looked like there was no way out and we were definitely going to lose, but we absolutely found a way, mostly from our opponents just giving up, but still, that is a way. I'm actually going to hold off on Untamed Kavu till turn 5 so I can bring it out with some counters to make it bigger with Evolution Sage, as well as draw a card off of Kiora. So we'll play our tapped land there and scry. What is this? If they have a pump spell here, they have a pump spell. If they don't, I get a free kill, which is cool. Alright, free kill it is. I think I'm just dropping down the Evolution Sage. Next turn I get to play... I probably want to set up Kiora for my turn 5 Untamed Kavu to draw a card. So I play Kiora and then I play a land proliferate onto the Shambler and Kiora. Could also just play Maulfist Revolutionary, but Really want to set up for the card draw the turn after. Our opponent has a Woe Strider here, spits out a goat, and now they can sacrifice creatures to scry 1. This also escapes later in the game. I do believe I am still setting up the Kiora play. So yeah, we'll cast Kiora first, then we'll play our land to proliferate. And we are not going to untap a land here. I could to play Untamed Kavu, but again, I want to wait till I can put counters on that. For both Evolution, Sage, and Kiora to combo with it better. So I'm just going to pass turn. Swarm Shambler is effectively a 4/4 now, because I will be putting another counter on it. With my one island I have up. I guess you could say it's effectively a 5/5 because I'm going to turn it into a 4/4 during their turn, and then the second I play this 5th land, it will turn into a 5/5 from Proliferate. So we're doing some great stuff there. Opponent has Timuret Calls the Dead. They mill 3 and then exile a creature or enchantment from their graveyard to make a 2/2 zombie. They're going to do that twice, so they're going to get 2 2/2 zombie tokens out of it. Then they will gain 2 life and scry 2 cards, basically. So not the scariest thing, but it is solid value over the course of a couple turns. Alright. I can actually use Kiora to untap a land so they can play Untamed Kavu before I play a land to proliferate an additional counter onto Untamed Kavu as well. So we're going to do that, get a little bit more value that way. Of course, drawing a card off of Kiora, hitting Beanstalk Giant is pretty sweet. We will play our land to proliferate onto our Shambler and our Kavu and Kiora, and with a 3/2 and a 2/2, I think I'm still not attacking with Swarm Shambler. Thanks to both its own ability to put counters on itself and Evolution Sage's ability to put counters on it, I think I'm fairly confident that I can get both of these creatures to a size that is large enough to where our opponent has no way to block them and kill them. So we're going to wait till we hit that point. That being said, they are Rakdos Sacrifice, they are red-black sacrifice, so if they have active treason, they will be able to use that to kill either of these. That or claim the Firstborn. Either of those cards temporarily steals one of your opponent's creatures. In a sacrifice deck, you can steal it and then sacrifice it, which would be pretty rough for us. That being said, there's only 2 treason effects in this cube. There's active treason itself and claim the Firstborn. So they could only have 2 cards like that in their deck. And if they just have removal, they have removal. So Call of the Death Dweller was really, really good for them here, because now they have a Judith on the board, which has Death Touch. And because Judith has Death Touch, whenever a non-token creature they control dies, Judith does 1 Death Touch damage to any target, which means Judith kills any target when any of their non-creature tokens die. So that's actually incredibly bad for us. We've got to draw something absolutely insane here, I think. I have enough mana to cast Beanstalk Giant if I untap a land with Kiora, and I think I do that just so I can draw another card off of Kiora. Rather than getting the land here. Getting the land does proliferate again, but Judith has Death Touch right now. So as I said before, the second any of their creatures dies, they kill any of my creatures, no matter how big it is, and they have a sacrifice outlet on board. They have Woe Strider, so they can sacrifice their stuff at any time to just kill my entire board. Now, I'm hoping that maybe my opponent doesn't realize that, and that is my only out here. But I have a feeling they know what's going on. They're gonna start just gunning my whole field. Here's the thing, though. Even if they don't know it, they're going to figure it out really quickly when they do 1 damage to Evolution Sage, getting ready to sacrifice another creature to finish it off. They're going to be like, wait a second, that just killed it immediately. Yeah. So, the fact that they killed Evolution Sage first makes me feel like maybe they didn't know that, but now they definitely do. And they have a reassembling skeleton in their grave that they can just 2 mana, bring it back from the grave, then sacrifice it, kill a creature. 2 mana, bring it back from the grave, sacrifice it, kill a creature. My field's about to go bye-bye. So Mythos of Aluna was a fantastic draw here, but it is going to be too slow to save our field from Judith. Unfortunately, our field does just die here if they use Reassembling Skeleton. They kill Untamed Kavu, and they kill Swarm Shambler. And then, I guess I get 1/1 tokens because of Swarm Shambler's effect, which is cute. Ah, no, Swarm Shambler only works on spells, it doesn't work on abilities. Oh, they actually are going to play Angrath? Oh my god, I'm really happy with that.
The only prize I did.
Still losing most of my field, but if they... Actually, Woe Strider can't sacrifice itself, so yeah, them choosing to Angrath rather than Reassembling Skeleton here means I actually get to keep my field, because now I'm going to Mythos Judith down. Oh no, they're reading Judith. They thought Judith triggered on token creatures as well. Yeah, that is a huge miss for them. That is very unfortunate. But we're going to take it. Judith is still going to trigger when she dies. So they get to kill one of my cards, whichever one that they want, but just one, so it's not bad for me at all. And I'm going to make just another Beanstalk Giant here, I think. Yeah, I think that's the best choice. Make another Beanstalk Giant, shoot their Judith. Well, I guess it literally doesn't matter what I take here, but I'm going to take something that's big enough to draw a card off of Cura at least. I guess they can respond by sacrificing Judith to shoot this Beanstalk Giant. But the only thing that changes there is that I don't draw another card, so that's not bad. But that is the best play from our opponent, so very smart choice from them. I can Maulfist Revolutionary, make a Kavu bigger. They have 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. They have 8 power over there. They'd have to block with everything to kill Kavu. Don't think it's attacking this turn still, though. I mean... They don't have... They don't have Judith out anymore, so I do just, like, clear their field, and then they have Reassembling Skeleton engraved and 3 cards in hand. And I do trample over 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I do trample over for 1, so I could just send it at Angrath, and then Angrath dies when they amass again next turn. I think it's probably still just not worth it. I'm just not going to attack. So yeah, going back to that Mythos play, I think Beanstalk Giant is still our best target, because even if we just take their Judith, if we Mythos their Judith, they just do the same thing. They just respond and kill Beanstalk Giant. So I guess we could target their Woe Strider, but literally anything we target, because Judith had Death Touch, was going to die in the fight anyway. So the only extra value we could possibly have hoped for there was to draw another card off Cura, and the only way to do that was to just target one of our big cards. So that was fine. So Gravebreaker Lamia. Alright, search their deck for any card, throw it into their graveyard. We'll see what they're grabbing here. When did they amass one first? Oh yeah, the little 1/1 first striker. Oh, that's really interesting. So they've had this zombie army since turn 1. And it is now a 5/5. That's really cute. They just throw a swamp in the grave? Yeah, I guess they didn't have any more graveyard synergistic cards, so they just want to thin their lands out, so it's more likely that they draw something actually valuable. Selvala Savala adds like a ton of mana, but she won't be drawing any cards. I'll still just drop her down, I guess. Savala gives us a lot of mana to do nothing with right now, but in the future that makes it really easy to cast and play Helm of the Host in the same turn. Or cast and equip. And maybe even re-equip it. So they have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 power over there. Let's just do some Swarm Shambler stuff and pass again, I think.
The ocean surges, life thrives.
Could attack with Malfist Revolutionary and just throw another counter onto one of these two creatures. But it doesn't seem that important. I like them sacrificing a 2/2 to scry here. Just get less power on that board. They're down to 12 cards. They have self-milled a lot, with Timuret Calls the Dead and Stitcher's Supplier, both milling them 6 cards. So maybe they just mill out. They're in black-red. It's impossible for them to have a way to not mill out. That pretty much only exists in blue in this cube, just Thassa's Oracle. Chandra, Acolyte of Flame, can cast instants and sorceries from the grave that cost, what, 3 or less?
Find your
Right?
fires of passion within.
I'm so glad that they're opting to just throw counters on Chandra, because their best play here, if they realize it, would be to just recast Call of the Death Dweller and bring Judith back again, because Judith isn't exiled, so they can bring Judith back with Death Touch with the reassembling skeleton going on. Oh yeah, that would be absolutely awful for me. So we're just hoping that they never recast that from the grave. Rishkar, throw a couple counters on some stuff. 9, 10, 11, 12 power. I'm actually just going to send in with my big stuff here and try to clear out as many creatures as I can. Because if our opponent realizes what they can do, like returning Judith again with Death Touch, and then having the mana to do the reassembling skeleton Judith combo with Woe Strider on board, we're in for a world of hurt. So we have to just get as aggressive as possible here and just start clearing their stuff out, I think. Maybe we even just aim at Chandra. I mean, this is 21 damage. They have to block something. They probably do like a double block. If I set it at Chandra, they don't have to block it, but then I know they're not going to get Judith back again. For sure. This might be wrong, but I think I'm doing it at their face. You know, no, let's do it at Chandra. If our opponent did not realize that they could return their Call of the Death Dweller from their grave, or recast it from their grave, now they definitely know. That being said, they are going to have to basically lose all their creatures if they want to be able to do that. So yeah, them blocking that way makes me feel like, without even like really looking at the cards that much, makes me feel like they definitely did not see the Call of the Death Dweller play, so attacking their face would have been better, but I'm not going to play in a way that just relies on my opponent misplaying. That seems really bold. Definitely too bold for me. Maybe this only lets you recast red stuff? Like, maybe I'm reading something wrong. You may cast an instant or sorcery with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard, and then just exile it, right? And Call the Death Dweller costs 3? Yeah, they could definitely have recast Call the Death Dweller, bring back Judith. That being said, with the attack that I made, I don't think they could do that. At least they couldn't do it easily. They'd have to lose Woe Strider in blocks, because they'd have to block all 3 of my creatures. And because of Untamed Kavu's Trample, actually, I'm pretty sure there was no way to save Chandra. so that was pretty fine. Just draw land here. Just keep making the Shambler even bigger. Five, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. If they block Shambler with everything, they kill it. Oops, 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 oops. I really don't want a green mana right now. I'm trying to attack. I think we're just sending it with everything again. They have a Croxa in their grave though. That's gonna be annoying. They still have 11 cards in deck, and they've got tons of mana to just keep playing Croxa. That will be annoying. Let's draw our Helm of the Host, shall we? Ooh, they're gonna go for Untamed Kavu here. Yep, kill all of that. They get a 2/2 zombie, and we trade. Kavu's not getting any bigger, so I'm fine trading that off. Actually happier to lose the Kavu than the Swarm Shambler, for sure. So with a Croxa out, they're going to have... I probably should have just played this land, right? When it enters the battlefield or attacks, each opponent discards a card, then each opponent who didn't discard a non-land card. So I would lose 3 life either way. So I guess maybe the island scares them into doing something else. I doubt it. It's probably better to just play it since I'm very likely to have to discard it here. They're going to attack Kiora here. Unclear. Just doing a lot of thinking. Checking out everything on the board, everything in hand. I'll take this trade here. I mean, you can kill my Rishkar. I've got 1,000,000 mana. Definitely want to keep Kiora if I draw any more Power 4 or greater creatures. I definitely have a few left in my deck. Sifter Worm, Ridgescale Tusker, Mesmerizing Benthid, Voracious Typhon, Bloom Hulk. That's 4 or 5 of them. Eldest Reborn. Alright, we're sacrificing Selvala. Amass 2 with Angrath. So they trump block with the zombie this turn. Fauna Shaman's a decent draw, because now if I draw a bad creature, I can just discard it to something. Alright. So they trump block with the 2/2, and then they scry 1. They could also take 14, but I don't think that's happening. I'll go ahead and play the land here as well. I think every turn that goes on is a turn they're more likely to play Croxa. Also, this makes me discard a card on the second mode, so I'm gonna discard just guaranteed. Scry to the top. Get out of here. You're gonna active treason me for 17. I just had a really bad time against an active treason yesterday. Who's to say it won't happen again today? We are playing against a Rakdos deck that has gone through almost their entire library now. They've scryed a lot. There's only 9 cards left. They may have scryed so much that they know everything left in their deck at this point. Alright, Titan of Death's Hunger, sure. That's super fine. So put a creature or planeswalker in a graveyard on the battlefield under their control. What is the best thing they can do with that? They can take my Beanstalk Giant. Ooh, Champion of Lambholtz. Oh, you would have been so good a little while ago. That is a creature, so I can Fauna Shaman into something. But Champion is real scary. It shuts off all of their tokens from blocking. I could pick up a Sifter Worm, a Ridgescale Tusker, Bloom Hulk, Typhon. I kind of want to pick up Sifter Worm. This is a really bold play because of how powerful Champion of Lambholt is generally, but I really like being able to scry and draw an extra card here. Really just see what's coming up. I don't really want to draw into any. Actually, I do want to draw a Voracious Typhon. I was going to say, I don't really want to draw into any of these because they're pretty likely to recast Croaks the next turn, like just chump block with it here and then recast it from grave. And that'll force me to discard whatever I draw here. But discarding a Voracious Typhon lets me escape it from the grave, so that's pretty solid. So I think I want to put Voracious Typhon on top, gain the life from it, and then if I discard it to Kroxa, that's super fine. And if I don't discard it, that's fine too. I'll just play it as a 4/4. So that's actually a great draw off of the Sifter Worm. So I was really concerned that I was going to have to play in a really weird way there. Like if I saw Helm of the Host, I was going to tuck it underneath whatever I was going to draw, because I don't want to draw it immediately in case they recast Kroxa next turn. But just drawing Voracious Typhon is perfect, because now whether or not they play Kroxa next turn, we get solid value out of that. They scry to the top again. Opponents got me all kinds of scared. Yep, they're actually probably bringing something back from their own grave, because the best thing in my grave is still Beanstalk Giant, and that's just a 5/5 for them. So maybe they bring back Angrath, maybe they bring back Chandra. Actually, you bring back Chandra, and then you use your 3-mana thing to bring back Judith. Oh my god. They figured it out. They'll only have 2 mana left after they do this, so they can only kill one thing immediately. Yep, there's the Call of Death Dweller for Judith. This is not as disastrous as it would have been if they just did it immediately. Oh, actually...
Remember this one?
Yeah, no, I don't think this is as disastrous as it would have been if they did it immediately. Are they just going to sack right now? I like sack in main phase, so I just know what's going on. Alright, kill Sifter Worm, sure. Or kill Swarm Shambler, duh. Sifter Worm's got trample though, so Sifter Worm can nuke Chandra. But I guess Chandra doesn't matter, they've already got the Judith out of it. Yeah, it's pretty rough. Well, Voracious Typhon's going to be really good here, because we want something that we can just keep playing against this Judith. Alright, sacrificing main phase, I'll definitely take it. Now we know Judith is no longer a problem. Well, I guess they really want to kill Kiora. Sure.
Rise again.
Lead the Stampede is solid here, because we're going to have the 4 mana for Typhon anyway. I suppose I could search up something discarding Typhon, since we can cast that from our grave. We've got 5, 6, 7, 8 mana. I could cast anything 7 or less. That's anything in my whole deck. Grab a Benthid, a Tusker, Bloomhulk, Siren Lookout, Augur, Branchwalker. Nothing's that good. We're just going to lead the Stampede. Probably going to hit Panharmonicon. Nope. Well, that was super solid. That was incredibly solid, my lord. Pelt Collector into Branchwalker. Pelt Collector into Bloomhulk. Tons of options. Definitely going to kill Chandra. This Pelt Collector... Why did Lead the Stampede just auto-tap all green? Because now I can't Typhon here. So it has cut me off from one more option. I think that's fine, though. I'm going to play the Branchwalker first. We still have Helm of the Host in our library, right? I am just going to play that here. Because I'm still going to want a million mana if we hit Helm of the Host.
Right now.
I think we do. Let me check. Yep, we've still got Helm of the Host in here. That is our coolest draw. Sir Conrad the Grim. Okay, that is a pretty threatening clock. Let's explore with Siren Lookout. Yeah, Mesmerizing Benthid or Ridgescale Tusker is not insane here. I guess Ridgescale Tusker is pretty dang good. I would rather discard Typhon for that than Lookout. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I do have enough mana to do that after I place Iron Lookout as well, so let's just see what's on top. And if it's bad, then I can Fauna Shaman it away. Well, it's just a land, so we have no idea what's on top, so we may as well Fauna Shaman here. Discard Typhon. Take the Conrad damage, sure, but now we're definitely playing Ridscale Tusker. Well, we got 10 cards left. 1 out of every 10 cards is a Helm of the Host. Will we get there? Pelt Collector is big enough to send in now, because it trades with Conrad or it just eats Woestrider. I do like locking up their mana, because then they could only do Woestrider or Kroxa. They can only do one of the two, so I'll send in... Actually, no. If they just block with Sir Conrad, that would be a dumb attack. If Sir Conrad had 3 toughness, I would definitely send in Branchwalker as well, because I'm fine offering the trade for the Woestrider there. Because they only have 5 mana, so it does tie the mana out. Have they just milled a million lands, or do they just have very few lands in their deck? Could be a really aggressive curve, really low amount of lands. 5, 6, 7, 8. We've seen 8 lands from them, and they only have 6 cards left. Oh, they exiled a ton. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, 13 lands. They've got 6 cards left. Alright, that makes a lot more sense. Alright, bringing back Kroxa. Oh my god, I should have just sandbagged the land because I have to discard Bloomhulk here. Been playing around Kroxa so long that I forgot to play around Kroxa. That was bad. Bloomhulk would have been super clutch here. I draw the Augur Bolas. I just drew into my worst card in my deck. I mean, there's 6 lands in here. This is not the worst card in my deck. I can grab my Mesmerizing Benthid, but that is the only creature left in my deck outside of Augur Bolas. So I have no instants or sorceries left in the deck. Just Helm of the Host, Panharmonicon, Benthid, and lands. I think we're just going to bring back Typhon, get another counter on Pelt Collector. Not having to Bloomhulk here does hurt quite a bit.
Oh, just gonna slip away.
Yeah, that 6/6 body is pretty massive. I'm just gonna play my Augur as a 1/3 actually. Because of Kroxa's ability, I don't have time to cast the Benthid. I'm gonna be discarding some stuff, so it would just immediately discard Benthid anyway. Just get in for 2 in the sky. They're on a 6-turn clock there. They're on a 6-turn clock in terms of the number of cards in their deck as well. So, Augur of Bolas actually did a lot for us there. Because we hit Panharmonicon land, all of those cards do basically nothing right now. So, Augur of Bolas sort of just drew 3. It just drew 3 cards. It got us 3 cards closer to Helm of the Host. This is a really close game. I think we could totally just die to Sir Conrad here. Just triggering off all of the trades that happen on board. They have so few cards in their library, though, they have to be very cautious about using Sir Conrad's mill ability. Oh, alright, well, we definitely die to Sir Conrad plus Bastion of Remembrance. They can sacrifice 4 creatures here. Are we actually just already dead? Yeah, we take 3 from Kroxa. We're just already dead. With Bastion plus Sir Conrad. Unless they don't sacrifice anything in response, I might be able to block in a way where I survive now. If I survive this turn, I just kill them. So, Bastion of Remembrance plus Sir Conrad means I lose 2 life for every creature that dies. So right now I lose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If they don't like sacrifice a bunch of stuff in response before Woe Rider dies, I can live. So I guess my life is in my opponent's hands here. If I live, I kill them. Alright. Yeah, I die. Puts me at 3. Conrad finishes the rest because 3 creatures are going to die here. Yeah, they didn't even need to attack because now they just sacrifice Croxus, sacrifice Conrad. That's 4 more damage right there. Oh, that was a rough one. Always sucks to lose like a really long game like that because the time investment was just massive. So 4 wins and 1 loss here. Oh my god, that means we're three rounds away from the end if we're winning more games, and that's minimum if we're winning more games, and 2 rounds away from the end minimum if we lose 2 more games. So this is going to be a chonky video for you all to end the Tinker's Cube drafts. I guess it's a fitting end. We'll give you as much content as possible to end it off. 2 hours already. Don't say I never did nothing for you. Alright, so we're on the play. Nothing at 1 or 2 mana, but as I've said before, this deck really does not have early plays, so it starts off at turn 3 most of the time. So this is pretty solid in terms of what you can expect out of this deck. Now this, it's kind of funny because this draft has definitely gone a bit longer than I was anticipating already. So my roommate's got a pizza, and now my pizza's just sitting there. It's been sitting there for like a half hour now. I'm like, oh no. I'm gonna have microwaved pizza. Alright, Mesmerizing Benthid. I'm gonna keep the Benthid. I do actually have enough mana to cast it with Kiora's untap ability. So I think I like keeping that because then I can Kiora into that for my turn 4 and turn 5 play. There's a Pelt Collector from our opponent, and a land, and a Luminarch Aspirant. Well, I really would love to hit another blue and a red mana for the Mythos of Aluna, because we really want to kill Luminarch Aspirant on this board.
Sun in the sky, brine on my skin. Great day to fight.
Luminarch Aspirant going to be a big old issue, as is Champion of Lamholt. That was an interesting choice from our opponent. I guess they really wanted to be able to attack in this turn. Yeah, that does start proliferating onto the Apparition too, so that is pretty huge. But I think there was just as good of an argument to just slap the counter onto the Champion of Lamholt, because that if that gets to like a 4-4, I just lose this game no matter what I do. Well, I think I need to draw into something here, so we just untap our blue source to be able to cast our Benthid and draw a card. If we draw our blue-red land, that'd be great. Don't even have the second blue source for the Mythos, but Kiora lets us untap and cast it. This is not looking good here. Really solid start for the +1/+1 counter deck over there. This is worth noting with the last draft that we did, where we did Green-White Enchantress. I think the other thing about Green-White Enchantress, if you're in Green-White, I think generally the +1/+1 counter deck is generally stronger. Because you just have some really good cards that are fantastic even if you're not synergizing, like the Aspirant and the Champion of Lamholt. And then you still have like the really powerful synergy cards like Conclave Mentor at your disposal. So I think if you're gonna be Selesnya, I think +1/+1 counters is usually where it's at. I've got the mana to cast a Sifter Worm here, gain a bunch of life, but things are really not looking good for us. Champion of Lamholt is starting to go off now too. I'm not gonna be able to block with pretty much anything except for my Sifter Worm, even if I wanted to. I can gain a bunch of life off of Beanstalk Giant and draw it, I guess, but it's not really gonna save me. So I guess I get rid of it. I'm just looking for my red source to get rid of at least one of their cards, or I'm looking for maybe Helm of the Host on Sifter Worm again could be enough, getting a lot of trample on this board very quickly, as well as gaining a lot of life. We're going to be attacking with the Siren Lookout. It's too small to be able to block as long as Champion of Lamholt is on their board now, so we may as well chip in for some damage. I probably should have been doing that before as well, but I liked leaving the option open to be able to trump block. Now that Lamholt's on the board, though, it's just never able to block, even if I wanted to. I guess, yeah, drawing into the red source for Mythos of Aluna would have been enough if we literally drew it right there before I played the land for the turn, which is why I didn't play the land earlier, like on the Benthid and stuff. Because now we could copy our Sifter Worm, and Sifter Worm can shoot Grateful Apparition, which might slow our opponent down enough to stabilize, because then we have a 7/7 to block Champion of Lamholt until Champion of Lamholt makes it to like 8/8. So then we have a lot more time to try to draw into the Helm of the Host. But not hitting the red source for Aluna, we've only got the one red source in the deck. Probably should have thrown in a mountain for Beanstalk Giant. I'm definitely just going to kill Champion. Absolutely. What do they have for 1 green? I guess they're just trying to kill me because I'm at 15. That's fair. Oh, +1/+1 Death Touch? Sure. I'm still always taking that trade. Even if Champion of Lamholt just had Death Touch on board, I'm going to take that block. Because now I can block all of their other ground creatures with my 0/2 things and keep them tapped for another turn, and I can chump block in the sky. So this makes it so I'm just not dead next turn, where if they just didn't attack with Champion of Lamholt, I think I'm guaranteed dead next turn with Wildwood Scourge on their board. I can copy any card on the board. So I can make another flying chump blocker. Make another 4-power creature, another Benthid to draw another card. I don't know what out I'm even playing to at this point. I guess copying Benthid is pretty nice because then their ground troops are just never getting in again. And I draw a card. But yeah, I am spending the Mythos of Aluna there so that I can't pay the red and fight anything, which is kind of rough. Alright, let's hit for 2. Get in there, my friend, and I'll untap you so I can even chump block, because I will have to chump block. Luminarch Aspirant can put another counter onto the Apparition, make it a 7/7 on attacks, which would be exact lethal. So we're hoping our opponent does not have a removal spell in hand, but if they don't, I get to chump block once here, and then I'll die. I guess I should have copied the Siren Lookout just because Siren Lookout's pretty much my only flyer in this deck, so then I could survive 2 more turns. If they don't put a counter on the Apparition, though, I get to survive 2 more turns anyway. I'll just not chump block here, I'll go for it next turn. Because now if I draw into Helm of the Host... Actually, if I draw into Helm of the Host, I don't have enough mana to play it and equip it. I only have 8 mana. I'm 1 mana off from playing Helm of the Host and equipping it to Siren Lookout, so even that is not an out. Sad. What creatures do I have in my deck? I have Beanstalk Giant, I have Ridgescale Tusker, Bloom Hulk, Voracious Typhon. Literally nothing that saves me. I have Champion of Lamholt of my own. Actually, do I have 16 power worth of creatures? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. No, but that's about as close as I could get to lethal, and it would be really cool to try. I guess I keep Branchwalker, so maybe I hit a land off the top to proliferate with Evolution Sage. We're going to go for it. We're going to really try to hit lethal with Champion of Lamholt. Somehow. I can't shut off Pelt Collector and Wildwood Scourge, though, so it's just really not going to happen. Alright, Champion of Lamholt, get out there. Now, Branchwalker, get out there and draw land. Well, that's just offensive to me. That's just really rude. So, my idea there was that the coolest play I could do is if I hit a land there, I could play a land, untap, play Evolution Sage, and I just like get in with everybody, but I'm just super dead. I guess I should have left it on top because I still got one more turn. I chump block Siren Lookout. I chump block Grateful Apparition with Siren Lookout, but the problem is Helm of the Host is one turn off here. Siren Lookout is my only creature that can block flyers. So I literally just die no matter what I throw the Helm of the Host on. I have to chump block with my only way to block Grateful Apparition there. So, we are straight dead. I guess maybe I should have played it out with the way things were going. With some of my other earlier victories where my opponent just randomly decided to lose. I could have potentially, like, if I chump block their flyer, I play Helm of the Host on Champion of Lamholt, and I look cool doing it. But again, they still can block with their 15/15 and their 6/6. My creatures don't get that big that fast. Either way, super duper dead there. So let's head into what may be the final round. If it's a loss, so hopefully this is not the final round. Hopefully we can get at least one more win. If I get one more win, I get 4,000 gold back out of this, and 4,000 gold is what I paid into it. And it's the last Tinker's Cube draft. Let's just 7-win it. Justice may be served here. This may be karma for all of the times that I've drafted mono red in this cube. I've 7-winned with mono red every time I've drafted it. I've drafted it twice in videos and like 8 times on my own time. That's really rough to admit, but this would be absolute justice. But I mean, if you look at this here, this is what mono red does. I feel like it is almost impossible to beat mono red. It's just heavily underdrafted because it's not that fun to do in this cube. Because there's like so many cool tricksy things you can do. But like, look, you just die. You just win if you're playing mono red. So if your goal is to win, mono red is so solid when it's open. And this is justice. This is about as on brand of a way to lose here as could possibly happen. This is just absolute justice for all the people that I've killed trying to do their fun Simic Panharmonicon decks when I was playing just a ridiculous mono red deck. So I'll take that loss, and I'll take it with pride, because I 100% endorse the mono red decks as a really powerful, really brutal deck in this format. So if I'm going to lose, let's at least lose and make a point about what I think is possibly the best strategy in the cube. Alright, well, that will be the final Arena Tinker's Cube draft. It was a lot of fun. To be honest, this is my favorite cube I've ever done. I'm generally not a fan of cubes, or at least I would have said that before the latest arena cube. I think in the first few arena cube drafts that I did back in December of the December arena cube, like I just mentioned it straight up at the start of each cube draft. I'm like, I'm generally not much of a fan of cube because I really like normal set limited because you're like entirely in the world and lore of that set. You're entirely in the mechanics of that set. Whereas cube is kind of just like a hodgepodge of like the best stuff going on. That being said, I thought December's Arena Cube was pretty fun. It was like fun gameplay, even if I didn't like it like lore wise and thematically. It wasn't as cool as just drafting a set regularly. But this cube, I mean, this cube was just super fun. This is probably my favorite cube ever. Just lots of fun synergies and stuff. I loved slamming down mono red as much as it may be. It may be a net loss for this cube that, in my opinion, the best strategy in the cube is just not, it's not a random synergistic fun nonsense thing. It's just burn. It's just play haste creatures and just smash your opponent's face before they get to do anything fun. That may be a net loss for the cube, but for me personally, I still love it. I mean, I love dying to it too. That was that was a flavorful way to die. So yeah, overall, I think all around this cube was great. I really like the mono red deck. The white black life gain deck is super strong too and pretty fun to play with. Golgari Reanimator, I think it's kind of like a middle of the road deck. Pretty average deck for this cube, but that deck I had a lot of fun drafting and playing around with. And Golgari in general, I ended up drafting Golgari, not even drafting Reanimator a few times. So I am going to ramble on a little bit about the cube at the end here because it's the last time we're playing it, so I may as well. And you've stuck around this far. This is a 2-hour draft, so if you're still here, then I feel like you're probably the kind of listener that wants to hear just my final thoughts on the cube before I sign off and get ready for Kaldheim. So that was super solid. Honestly, my least favorite strategy has got to be green-white enchantments. It just has never worked out for me. I've seen it do a lot of really fun stuff and work out for my opponents, but I think it is very, it's very risk-reward. There's a lot of variance in the green-white enchantress deck because you can start off with some really bonkers plays if you can turn 2 Core Skydancer or turn 3 Setessan Champion and follow that up with some really powerful auras or just enchantments in general, then it's really hard for your opponent to stop the ball rolling there, where all of the cards you're playing are just drawing you cards and getting you extra value. But when you just draw the cards in the wrong order, it can be just super awkward and not great. Like drawing a Sigil of Distinction with no other enchantments to cast, where you just cast it and it does nothing. You've just spent 5 mana and it hits the board and it does nothing until you draw another enchantment. Even if all of your non-land cards are enchantments, that's a rough sell, top decking it in the late game. And I feel like at most you're going to have probably like 12 enchantments if you have a decent amount of enchantment creatures as well as a ton of non-creature enchantments. So, I don't know. Probably my least favorite strategy just for the amount of variance in there, but it did a lot of cool stuff. So that's my thoughts on the Tinker's Cube. Favorite strategies: mono red, white black, Golgari. Least favorite strategy: green white enchantments. Coolest strategy that I didn't get to play: maybe blue red spells. That seems pretty high variance too. But, I mean, the things that you're doing when it works out are really cool. Like, when you play Double Vision and then you, like, double Banefire your opponent for, like, 14 damage and just win out of nowhere. That's really cute. I do like the blue-red spells for that, but I didn't play it a single time. Blue-white Flyers. Blue-white Flyers, I feel like that's just a strategy. So is blue-red spells, to be fair. But blue-white Flyers is a strategy in so many different draft formats that just doesn't interest me at all. But I think the deck looked fine. It looked solid. The deck that utilizes all of the Curiosity type effects, you throw them on your evasive creatures to hit your opponent and draw cards. So it looks like a fine strategy. There's like the Payoff Gold card. That's the 2-mana 1/1 flyer that can spit out more flyer tokens, and it gets bigger for every other flyer you control. So yeah, that deck looked solid. Not the greatest. Blue-Black Mill was fun. I'm sure I'm not mentioning a lot of strategies. Rakdos Sacrifice was fun. It was fine. Not super interesting to me yet again, just because that's already a strategy in so many draft formats. So, pretty solid cube overall. I had a really great time with it. Let's check out what our final Tinkerer's Cube draft prizes are. Triumph of Gerard, Spirit of the Spires, and 20 gems. You know, I'll take 20 gems. 20 gems is phenomenal. I can use all the gems I can get for Kaldheim right around the corner. So at the end of this video, because tomorrow is such a huge day, I'm going to shout out that tomorrow is the Kaldheim Early Access event. And thanks to Wizards of the Coast, they have provided me an early access account to play in that event. So I will be streaming tons of that. If you are not interested in checking out my Twitch channel, then I will be also uploading Kaldheim Limited on that day and every day following up as always. So stick around for that. If you want to see the live stream, check out the Twitch channel in the description below. I will be doing tons there. And if you just want to see some Kaldheim, some more draft videos, everything that you've already been seeing, just do what you're already doing. Stick around, same place, same time generally. I generally upload around 2 p.m. Central every day. But yeah, you're at the right place. So hang around. Thank you so much for watching. And I will see you again tomorrow for Kaldheim. That sounded really unenthused, but I'm actually really excited about it. I just don't want to get too loud. It's like 8 p.m. It's like 8 p.m. I got some cold pizza sitting there. Anyway, whatever. I'm gonna do the thing. I will see you tomorrow for Kaldheim. Was that metal enough? Probably sounded awful. I apologize. I'll see you tomorrow.